Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to another how-to video. In this series, I've made a number of videos now, including how to play Warhammer 40,000, amongst a number of others. There should be a new how to set up terrain for Warhammer 40,000 as well, just to give you some help and assistance in setting up tables for 40k. A lot of people have been saying, how do you set up your tables, how do you pack them away again, and so on. So I've created a short video on that subject as well. So that should be live. If you haven't checked that out, then check that out already, as well as the other videos in this series. But you have read the title right on this one, how to cheat in games of Warhammer 40,000, or how you may be being cheated, or how it is possible to cheat in 40k. So it certainly isn't encouraging people to do so. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's encouraging you to play a decent game of 40k and to do so in a correct manner without cheating, but just to give you some of the ideas, some of the ways that people can cheat in games. Sadly it does go on, I suppose all games you'll find cheats in there somewhere, and so this video is about that subject and hopefully it'll be a help to you. So my view on cheating is, I think it's a complete and utter waste of time, and it does grate me very much indeed, not to the point of losing my temper, but to the point of it's just such a stupid thing to do, and it really is pointless, because you're trying to play a game where you're pitting your skills against someone else, and if you're cheating in order to beat them, then what have you achieved? You've done it by dishonesty and not beaten them in a fair fight. And so I see it as entirely pointless, and it just can make trouble. You know, if you're involved in cheating, you're going to get caught, and it's going to make your own life a misery, because you're going to get kicked out of places or banned from playing. You're going to lose friends, people are going to get annoyed with you, and for the sake of what? For trying to win a game. You can't even congratulate yourself if you do win, because you've done it through cheating and not in a fair way. So I see it as a complete and utter waste of time, and very much against cheating in all of its forms. So I hope you're the same. My experience playing 40k for a good long while now is that most people just play honestly and enjoy their games very much. There is a great spirit of fair play amongst 40k in general, not always. I've been cheated a few times, which I'll perhaps talk about in this video. So what I want to do first of all, just before we get stuck into a few points I've made, I've got General's Handbook here for Age of Sigmar. But what they have is a player's code, which I was very impressed by when I did a flick through review of one of their publications, but it's inside here. So I'll run through these, because I think these are really good, a good way to conduct yourself in games in general. I guess here it's for Age of Sigmar this is referring to, but equally applies to 40k. So some good ways to act. And maybe there's some people that are new to the game and may have some habits that they don't realise what they're doing is wrong, and so this video is to help inform you, so you know how to conduct yourself as you play your games of 40k or any tabletop game. So first of all, it says arrive on time with all the things you need to play the game, which is fair enough. Move on from that one. Make a respectful gesture to your opponent before and after the game, such as offering a handshake, wishing them good luck, and so on. So yeah, it is a great way to play. Other sports do it as well, where you're good game, shake hands, commiserate, not gloating that you've won, commiserating them if they've lost, and try and be diplomatic about things and so on. But that is a good way to conduct yourself. Then avoid using language your opponent might find offensive, which can very much irritate people if you're using bad language and they're finding it very offensive. So we do that here for our videos. We keep our videos clean from language and blasphemy and so on. Then next, ask your opponent's permission if you wish to use unpainted models or substitute models. It does irritate people, a good number of people actually, if you bring unpainted models or substitute like weird stuff, things that aren't what you're using in games. So if that is the case, if you are going to do that, then just talk to your opponent before you play your game, which is fair enough. Offer your opponent a chance to examine your army roster. So let someone see your army list if they want to. But I guess what it's saying here is make that offer. Don't just wait or hide your list away with all your secret combinations you've got. Make it open to them, let them see it, and then go about trying to beat them despite them knowing what you have. It's not, it shouldn't be an issue, but I'm not too keen on sort of hidden combos that someone brings out just at that point in the game when they're about to use it. So transparency is great. It keeps the atmosphere good as you're playing your games. That ties into the next point. Answer any questions your opponent has about your army and the rules that apply to your army. So I often do, especially if I'm running a new list or new combinations, I'll just run through the new stuff. Say the opponent's, one of the guys on the channel, they're familiar with the army, but there's been some changes. I'll run over and highlight those changes that have taken place. Talk about my tactics. This is why I'm doing this combination and so on. It's all a good habit to get into as well. And it all just keeps things above board and transparency as well, so that you're not trying to be devious with your list and hiding certain combinations. And it's great fun to catch your opponent unawares, but this isn't really the way to do it. The way to do it is in game, where everyone knows what's going on. Measure moves and distances carefully and accurately is very important. I've seen some real howlers out there in games that I've played, even before I started the channel. Some crazy abuse of movement here, which we'll cover in a moment. I'll show you show you some of the dodgy tape measuring that was done in games that I've played. And then give your opponent the chance to examine your dice rolls before picking up the dice. We'll cover that in a moment as well. Dice rolling is a major aspect where people can get a bit uptight if there's cheating going on. Ask permission before touching any of your opponent's miniatures. It's quite a big one actually, and it's a very polite thing to do. So you could be admiring someone's models that they have, but you always ask permission before you pick up their stuff. So say, oh, I like the look of that sergeant you've painted up there for your Marines. Could I have a little look at him? And then the opponent says, yeah, you can. Sometimes they'll say, no, please don't touch, and that's fine. Remind your opponent about rules they may have forgotten to use or that they have used incorrectly, especially when doing so in your opponent's, so as to your opponent's advantage rather than your own. So it can be so tempting sometimes just to the opponent's forgotten something, he's forgotten to make that move. But it's good gamesmanship just to remind your opponent of things that they've forgotten. They've forgotten to make a move with a unit in the movement phase, or one of the classic ones, forgotten to bring on a unit from reserve. They've said to you in a previous turn, I'm going to bring this on next turn, or they've been talking about it, and they haven't done it, and it's maybe obvious that they've forgotten to do it. Just say, oh, are you bringing that unit on, by the way? What's your plans of that unit? Or there's a unit that they've forgotten to shoot with, or move, or even make a charge move with. Then try and remind your opponent of those things. Now, perhaps maybe different in a tournament. And maybe some people in the comment section will talk about the rules and structure of how they go about doing that. But sometimes your opponent forgets to do something, and sometimes in tournaments it's just going to count against them. They should have remembered and they forgot, and then it's going to cost them in the game. But for most of the games that we do here on the channel are friendly games. Even our league battles are mostly friendly. Then we'll still remind each other of these things, and often it works both ways. There'll be a point in the game where you remind the opponent about something they've forgotten, and then they very graciously, thanks so much for reminding me, and then later on in the game that comes back around and they remind you of something that you've forgotten. So it does work both ways, and so that's worth bearing in mind. So we do that on the channel here, reminding each other about rules. Tom's very good for that. He'll remind me of stuff that I've forgotten, even if it's like a certain combination I'm going for that I've forgotten about, and he'll say, oh, aren't you going to do that? And I say, oh yeah, thanks so much. So that's the good thing, it raises and keeps the level of the game nice and high. It doesn't descend into trying to get your own back on the opponent and so on, or holding a grudge that they haven't helped you out. Just keeps things at a nice high, happy level, which does help. It does help because sometimes the mood will drop because you're getting hammered or beaten some way, and that can just lower the mood because you're seeing stuff getting blown away, and so you don't want to have that happen on top of an already lowered mood in the game. So keeping things up and elevated for as much as you can is a good idea. Never deliberately waste time during a game, which is fair enough, especially on the tournament scene and so on. Avoid distracting an opponent when they're trying to concentrate, and be careful to respect their personal space. Again, it's fair enough. You don't want to be breathing down the opponent's neck when they're trying to figure out what to do with their army. So just keep a healthy distance from people, and then don't try and distract them. It could be seen as cheating when you're trying to. It could be seen as cheating that you're trying to distract them away from their battle plans. Just give them the space they need to make their moves, and then never complain about your bad luck or your opponent's good luck. So we would moan a little bit about the dice sometimes, but that's sort of our own situation as opposed to what's happening to the opponent. No, it doesn't say that. It says don't complain about your own bad luck or your opponent's good luck. So yeah, it's not nice listening to complaining. Again, it lowers the mood and just brings it down to sort of a grumbling level, which isn't good. It's not fun to be part of that, or indeed to watch it in games. So we try and keep the salt to a minimum, but a little salt helps to add some flavour to a game for sure. And then never fix the outcome of a game, so which is entirely boring. If you know what's going to happen, it is a total waste of time. So they're saying that there as well. That's the player's code. I was very impressed with that. I thought it was really good. So good structure to start off here for this video. So we talked about how that cheating, I think it's a total waste of time, and it's just so silly, and there's no point. It doesn't help anyone. The player that's cheating, what have they achieved? If they go on to win, they've done it by deceit and by cheating, so it's a waste of time in that regard, and it just destroys the atmosphere of a game. And the person that cheats, their reputation can be ruined, and they'll be banned from games and so on, not welcome at a club. And getting a reputation as a cheat, it's just, you can get that for life, and so it really is a silly waste of time. And so if you are tempted to go down the route of trying to cheat, or you've started down that route, encourage you to get out of that as quickly as you can. And if you're not doing very well in your games, then just try to improve your skills and not take the easy route out, which is cheating. It's not going to build your character, and it's not going to build your skills either if you are cheating. Then so there's a few little tips that I've noticed for our games and playing 40k in general, on and off camera, a few things that can help out. I've got a little list of things I've jotted down here. So some of the things that can really create a bit of a road bump, or a bump in the road for games, is things that should be predetermined before the game gets going. I've talked about it already in some of those points from the Age of Sigmar book. But first of all is your terrain. I found it really helps out. You very clearly define your terrain before the game begins. You can get into real awkward situations in a battle where you're presuming the terrain does one thing, the opponent's presuming another, and you've both made certain moves based on what you think the terrain is, and then it comes to a key bit of shooting or a charge or close combat or line of sight, whatever it is, and you both got conflicting definitions of what the terrain is. So go through all the terrain before the game begins and just clarify all your technical details of what you're going to do. As you play someone over and over, like we do with the guys on the channel here, it gets a lot quicker, a lot easier to define what terrain and the different roles that terrain has. But it's very, very important. It'll just set you up well for the rest of the battle as you play it. So you might have a ruin, for example, and the curb of the ruin sticks out, say, ½ inch, and you clarify with the opponent it's line of sight blocking terrain. Do we measure from the actual very edge of the terrain straight up, or do we go in across the curb and then up the side of the building? That 1 inch difference could mean the difference between seeing and not seeing a target for a load of heavy weapons, or from a vehicle that you have, for example. So those kind of things are important. So it's good to clarify those before the game gets going. Once it's all clarified, it just that's all settled, and you can just proceed and get on with the game, and terrain shouldn't be an issue. The other thing is, I've talked about it again to a degree here, is the abilities that your army has. So you're not hiding what your army is able to do. Let the opponent see your list, and also be willing to explain to your opponent what abilities your army has and what they're able to do. Things like your warlord traits, your stratagems, relics, and certain combinations that you've done. Just explain that all to the opponent. You don't have to go through the entire thing, but you can just say, do you want me to go through my list? And the opponent say, oh, no, I'm fine, I know what you've got. Or they'll say, yeah, just run through the whole thing. Perhaps if they're a bit new to a game or they've never played that faction, they don't know what they're facing, you might have to explain the whole thing to them. Or it may be just a few things. They might say, oh, that's a new character you've got, what does he do? What's his abilities? And then you say, yeah, this is what he's able to do. And you can talk a bit about your tactics as well. You can say, well, this is the way the reason why I've taken him, the way I intend to use him in the game, and so on. So there's that. And then the other thing to pre-game decide is your dice house rules, whatever way you're going to work out with dice. So what I mean by that is things like cock dice. We have a house rule here. It's not sort of the official way to do it, but it's the way that we play when it comes to cock dice. Now, each person's different channels do it in different ways, but the most important thing is that both of you are in agreement of how you're going to run dice during the game. So, for example, we play hole facing. It does irritate some people in some of our videos, but it's a rule that works for us, and that's the most important thing. And we don't really get any arguments now about dice and cock dice. The rule's well established, so we just get on with it. So what we play is what's called hole facing. So this is a little bit of card here. So if you've rolled some dice like this, and then one of the dice goes like this on a piece of terrain, and obviously this rule's not going to be an issue come up if you're using a tray or like a cup type thing or a flat surface. We roll on the table, just like the realism of rolling the dice on the board and not some tray that's over to one side. So we play on the terrain, but with that comes the risk that you're going to get dice that are cocked, leaning up at an angle, and what is the result. So we play what's called hole facing. So this dice here is leaning against its piece of terrain, but it's at an angle. So the hole facing of that dice is 2. It's very clear that's pointing up in that direction, so we don't touch the dice. We say the result is a 2, then just move on, and we just get quick resolution to that. Some players will play dice balancing on it. So if a dice balances on there, then the result stands. If the dice slides off, then you have to re-roll the dice. So that's one way of doing it. Then the other way of doing it is, and there's been a few people on the channel that played this way, challenge players, is that any dice that's cocked in any way, whether severe or minor, you just re-roll all of those dice. It's only flat dice counts. That's another way to do it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. The key is that you're both in agreement as to the way you're going to play dice. There's been times I've played games, I've had my own rule for dice, the opponent's had a different rule, and there's been a bit of conflict, and it's been needed to be resolved. What's going on with that? Because you've got 2 different standards going on when it comes to re-rolling dice. So I'd look at dice and say, oh look, there's a hit, and then they pick the dice up, and then they re-roll it and think, oh no, what's going on? They're just picking up dice all over the place. So the key then is to choose which way you're going to do it. I guess there's advantages and disadvantages, but it's quite a minor thing. But the key is that you're in agreement as to the way you're going to play. But you'll see it in games. We just play hole facing, look at the dice, both look at it, and 98% of the time we'll be in agreement. Yeah, that's a 2 or whatever it is, and then just quickly move on. It just keeps the game flowing. Because you want to be in the middle of a game, just be like getting dice and trying to balance them on top, and oh, that one's okay, and then just painstaking. So we just play hole facing, nice and quick. And then you'll get a dice where you just say, I don't know, no idea what that is, and just pick it up and re-roll it. So that's the way we play that. So those are some of the main things that we've found where the clarification is needed before the game gets going. It just saves a lot of hassle, and it just keeps the flow of the game going when everyone knows what's going on. So some cheats then. I've got a few, and then what I'll be really interested is to read the comment section. So in the comment section, if you know ways where people can cheat in 40k that I haven't covered here, then leave that in the comment section below. And it'll be a great resource for people, so they can be forewarned and pick up some of the ways that cheating does take place. There's been some headlines in the community in the last few months of people that have cheated, even on the big tournament scenes, and then they've been disciplined and kicked out and so on, and it describes the way they were cheating in games. So there are some horror stories out there, and that's the other thing to add to the comment section. So ways that cheating can occur, and then leave your own stories of some of the shocking experiences you've had of cheating going on. So I'd love to hear what people have to say in the comment section for this video as well. So number one, I've just got a few here. First one is dodgy tape measuring. Obviously the movement phase is one of the worst places where this happens. So what I've seen, I played a game once against a guy. He had his Space Marine army, and he was moving in front of me. It was blatantly been done. So he's measuring up like this, 12-inch move, and he was going like this, and then dropping the model down, and it was miles ahead. But it was all done in quick succession. So the tape was taken away, and the model was down. You think, right, well, now the model's down, what can I do about it? I've got no reference of where the model was, and so I just sort of watched it take place. I was like, oh, what do I do? Do I say something or just... So when you measure, and some people may do this and not understand, you've got to go from the edge of the vehicle or from the edge of the base, if it's infantry, and then make your measurement and stop there. Now if you're conscious that, especially when it's an important move, so you're trying to make a move with a model that could end up with a charge going on later on, or getting just within range for shooting, something like that, then it's obviously important. Then make a point of being precise and letting your opponent see what's going on. So you can go like this, like so, and you can measure up to there. The opponent sees that, I mean that's fine. You can measure and place a dice or something else just to make a mark, and let your opponent see. There's no way you can cheat if you're doing that. The opponent can see that you've measured the distance, and then you've made the move and you've gone up to the mark which you haven't touched, and then that's it. Then after that you can do your measuring for your shooting and so on, and from there. So that's one aspect, is dodgy tape measuring. I've seen some bad ones out there, but just that chap, he was playing and then just shunting the vehicles way past the edge of where they're meant to move to. He was manoeuvring around the table a lot quicker with units that are actually a lot slower. Because it leads to, I guess the follow-on from this is the question, then, well, what if someone is cheating like that, what do you do? It creates a very, this is the annoying thing about cheating, it creates awkward situations, because you can see the opponent's cheating, and then it becomes your word against theirs. So sometimes if the game's important enough, you just have to contest it. So it's not a good idea to say, oh, you're cheating, it's not a good way to go. But you can just ask, can you just double check your movement there please, or can I have a look at your movement that you're doing, just double check the distances that you're going, and do it that way. And if the opponent, if they are pushing the boundaries a bit and they know that you're on the case and watching out for it, it can help pin it down and just to reduce it during the game. But if you let it run, it's just going to keep going and going, and the opponent may end up pushing more and more if they see that they're getting away with it. The other great thing that can help out those kind of situations is an umpire, or just another gamer, someone that's nearby, and you can just ask them, can you come across and help out with this situation. Perhaps movement's not the best example of that, but clarification of rules, or you've got two interpretations of the rules going on, you're stuck, then it's great to have someone that can step in, and you can say to them, right, we're trying to resolve this situation, what's your take on it? And they'll stand back and take more of a neutral view from it, and then usually they'll come to resolution, and then you've got two on one. You know, you've got the original player, and then you've got the umpire's verdict, and it outweighs what the other person's trying to say. So you do need to move on as well. Sometimes things just don't go your way, but a third player, an umpire, is often a great way to resolve those kind of things. So then secondly is again about dice rolling. Dice rolling is one of the big areas of arguments in games, and it's the random aspect of a battle, and the way you conduct yourself when you're using dice in the game. So there's a few things regarding dice. Don't hide your dice from the opponent. Oh, I've got 7 6s. And then take the dice away. Well, it's pretty obvious, but there's people that try it. So roll your dice in front of the opponent. Roll your dice when they're in the room. So the opponent says, oh, I'm going away to get a cup of tea, and then you come back, and then you say to, oh yeah, I've made my move, and I rolled a 6 for an advanced roll with all of my units. And your opponent, even if you did actually get that, you do no favours for yourself, because you're naturally going to start getting the opponent to think, oh yeah, maybe they're cheating. So try and do your rolls in front of the opponent. The opponent may say, all right, I'm off to go to the loo here, or I'm going to go and get a drink or a snack. You say, that's all right, because I'm on movement phase, I'll wait till you come back. So that is worth doing if you can. It just keeps everything above board and that transparency, which is so important for your games of 40k. And then the other thing is, don't pick up dice too quick. So you roll your dice, eyeball hit, and just like this, it's too quick. Slow down, let the opponent see what's going on, is another thing. So there's those areas to dice rolling. And then the other aspect is, again, this is to do with transparency. And it's a habit that I try and do, players are different, is you roll up, say you need 3s to hit, take away the misses instead of picking up the hits. If I pick up hits, I say, right, all those have hit, these are my hits. And you've picked them up quickly and the opponent's not quite seeing what's going on, how does the opponent know you've not picked up some misses by accident or on purpose? And so the way to do it is to take away the misses, because it's to your disadvantage if you've taken away a hit by accident. And so it's the right way around. You're doing it in a correct way. So I'm going to take away the misses. So I'm going to take away these 2s here, they've missed, and all your hits are just laying on the table, and they're on the table for a longer period for the opponent to see, and you're both looking at the result, and you're like, yep, it's fine, and then you then pick up your dice, it's all confirmed. When you go the other way around, and you roll up, and I'm going to pick up my hits, here's my hits, and then what's to stop you from picking up a few extra, and then it's too late. The dice have been picked up, the opponent says, oh, you cheated, and you say, oh no, I haven't, and what can you do? You're now in an awkward situation, whether you've cheated or whether you haven't. So the best way to do it is just take away the misses. And then those are away. And if you've picked up a hit by accident, then that's to your disadvantage and not to the opponent. There's no way they can feel cheated. And your hits are nicely laid out on the table and visible to be seen. Both sides are happy. Pick up the dice and then carry on with the game. So those are some of the ways that you could cheat in 40k, and this video is to try and pick out ways that cheating goes on, to help you to look out for cheating, and also to help you that you don't stumble into cheating even by accident, where you're conducting yourself in a way where you're not aware of what you're doing, and it's in fact in a way that could be seen as cheating and so on, or you could be accused of that even though that you're not. So there's certain ways of going about a game that can just keep everything above board and help with the flow of the game. And you want an enjoyable game of 40k. Cheating is horrible, and accusations of it, even if it's not true, you just put a real dampener on things. It's a tremendous shame when that kind of thing goes on. So then resolving cheating. Is cheating going on? What do you do? Sometimes I've just been in like a friendly game, and I was at a club, and it was all strangers, I didn't know anyone at all, and then there's a friendly game, guy using his Blood Angels, I was using Necrons, and he was cheating, very competitive. It was cheating. It was about bringing on reserves and what. So it was a previous edition of 40k and what side of the board you could bring those reserves on. I knew from the rules that I could flank with some of my stuff. The opponent says, oh no, you can't do that. And he was adamant I couldn't do it because by bringing on my stuff I would have ambushed a load of his units and changed the game. I said to him, no, you definitely can. So what do you do? So there's no point in arguing, just getting a bit agitated. So says, look, I'll show you the rules here. And we opened out the book, showed you the deployment zones, and where I could bring the rules or bring the reserves on. I was correct in that case, but still wouldn't have it. So I just asked for a third person to intervene, just a casual gamer that was playing. I said, look, this is the situation, this is what the rules say, this is what I want to do, this is my intent, can I do it? And he says, yeah, you can, that's what the rules say. So then with a grudge, a bit of a grumble, the guy was like, alright then, go ahead. And then went ahead and got on with it. So that game continued. There's a bit more cheating going on. It's just some dodgy stuff. I thought to myself, it's just a friendly game, there's no significance to it, so I thought I'll just carry on. I'm just going to try and beat this guy anyway, even though he's cheating. I'll try and beat him, which I did here, but it was more of a triumph for playing correctly and not cheating, so that was the way I approached that. There was no point in getting shouting and screaming and carrying on like that, but instead just to play my best and try and beat the person, even though they're trying to create an artificial advantage in their favour. So don't let things escalate. So get that third person involved if it really is that important. And other times you just have to move on. Just say, oh, we'll agree to disagree and just move on. Or sometimes in the 40k rulebook it says that if there's a difference, just roll a dice. Whoever gets the highest to go with their decision. Just keep the game rolling on. There's no point in letting the game get bogged down on an issue that should be resolved quick enough, and it's spoiling the whole of the game. So thankfully, I haven't had too much in the way of cheating and big arguments about games. Just keeping the spirit of the game lifted up, it makes it enjoyable, and it just stops that mood from descending down. And so that's a good way, I think, to conduct yourselves in games. And if you are a cheat, you're in the habit of doing that, then try and reform yourself and get out of that habit if you can, and enjoy the game and play on a level playing field. And when you get your victories, it feels so much better when you beat someone fair and square. Then you've done it through tactics and unit choices and so on, but through cheating there is no achievement in that. You cheat yourself as much as anybody else. So that's the video. I hope it's been a help to you. Just leave your own comments and feedback. It'd be fascinating to hear what people have to say in the comment section, just experiences of cheating that you've had, other ways that people cheat. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it. Leave all that in the comment section below. It'd be very, very interesting to hear the other forms of cheating that go on, and the horror stories. I'm sure there's some real howlers out there of cheating that's taken place. It'd be very, very interesting to hear the experiences other people have had. If you've enjoyed this video, then simply hit the thumbs up. It really helps the video and the channel out, and share with others, and leave a comment. Helps the video and helps the channel. If you're not subscribed already, then hit the subscribe button and the notification button that will let you know whenever new content is available. That's the video. Keep a look out for more in this series. Check out the other videos that are out there in the how-to series as well. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.